What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Feud channel. I am Stoned Arrow, followed along with Mason Reed. We are without our gracious co-host Paul today because he is down with the illness that I had, I think. So that's very sad. Everyone type condolences to Paul in the chat for today. If you guys enjoyed today's video, like it, comment down below who your starts and sits of the week are, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy today's content. We post fantasy football information like this each and every single day, breaking news and other stuff football related. So thank you for listening, and we're just going to get right into the starts and sits today. Our first one is Aaron Rodgers. He's playing against Chicago at home on Sunday Night Football. That's everybody's favorite matchup every single year for Aaron Rodgers. I think it's going to be a clear win for him, and I'm going to speak for Paul for a second. He talked to us yesterday. He was talking about how this is Aaron Rodgers' time of the year, and he's going to really turn on and start going off this year. He said that in the MVP video that we posted, so I think that he is true with that. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be fine. Chicago's defense is kind of, I wouldn't say bad, but they've had injuries and stuff to it, so it's not as powerful as it once was. I think Aaron Rodgers is a safe start here. I don't know what you think about that.
I think Aaron Rodgers is a super safe start. Last time he played Chicago at the famous I own you. I've always owned you. His blackout moment. It was awesome. It was hilarious. I love Aaron Rodgers for that. Game, he had 23 fantasy points in standard fantasy leagues, 2 touchdowns, 195 passing yards. We can expect a crazy amount of passing yards from Aaron, but we should be able to expect touchdowns. If you guys were thinking about starting else, don't start Aaron Rodgers.
All right, and the next guy, we're going into the running back position. This one's going to seem like a no-brainer whenever he plays. It's Alvin Kamara. But you got to hear us out here. People are probably thinking about sitting him just because of the injury he's had for a few weeks now. I think it's been 4 games he's missed, and then he had a bye week on top of it. So Alvin Kamara owners, you've been without him for 5 weeks. Me and Mason are first-hand recipients of that. But do not fret. Alvin Kamara, they're just trying to get him healthy, and I think at this point he's healthy and good to go. If he isn't, he won't play. If he is good to play, he will play. So if he's active, definitely start him. He's playing against the Jets, 32nd against the run in the NFL. I just think it's an easy start. Alvin Kamara, he is all they got on that offense, and if the Saints want to make a playoff push this late in the year, they need Alvin Kamara back bad right now.
Yeah, so, I mean, like Stone said, if you're scared of starting Alvin Kamara, there might be a reason. Earlier in the year, he had some duds. He had a 5-point game, 12-point game. Anything really under 20, we kind of like, we're sad. We expect Alvin to get over that hump. He's been hurt 4 weeks, guys, coming back against the worst run defense in the league. Look to him to just bolster up your fantasy squad this week. Add an extra 20, 30 points, baby. Let's go. Put him in that lineup. Don't be hesitant.
We really need those 20, 30 points bad from Kamara this week if me and Mason want to make the playoffs.
We do.
Please, Kamara, please. We need you, man. Moving on to the receiver position. This one's going to be more of a surprise to you guys. We're going to have Jalen Guyton as your start of the week at the receiver position. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams both have gone down with COVID. Keenan Allen has a chance to return. Mike Williams, not so much. I think Mike Williams is going to miss the game no matter what. I don't know if that's completely correct, but I believe that's the case. Keenan Allen, he has to have 2 positive tests or negative tests within 48 hours of each other to be able to return. So that's coming up, I think, tomorrow. He has to start getting those negative tests to be able to play. So who's going to be the guy that replaces him? Well, I mean, pretty much all the receivers. But Jalen Guyton, we saw last week, had 4 targets and 4 catches. He had a big touchdown in that game. I mean, I've been saying it since the beginning of the year. I thought Jalen Guyton was going to be their number 3 there, and they were going to actually involve him more in the offense. This is really going to be his standout chance to, show what he's got. And Justin Herbert likes the guy. He likes throwing his bombs to Jalen Guyton, so he might fill in for a Mike Williams type role. Not completely the same receiver, obviously. Guyton's a lot smaller than Mike Williams, but look to see Jalen Guyton maybe possibly catch a bomb or 2 in that game. I think he could do it.
Yeah, I can speak to your point on that. I do believe that he has that Mike Williams deep ball threat. He hasn't done much all year, guys. So you look at him, you might be like, oh, he was a one-time wonder. No, he's a talented guy on an offense that is stacked with talent. You've got Austin Eckler, you got Jared Cook, you got Mike Williams, you got Keenan Allen. Take 2 of those guys out of the picture, and then we've got 20 targets open up. Where are they going? Well, Jalen Guyton might get 10 targets this week, guys. And that's enough for me to warrant a start because Justin Herbert is an accurate passer, he will put the money. He will put it right on the money. That's just how Justin Herbert plays football. I think he's a good quarterback, and he can make anybody work.
Yep, exactly. And I kind of want to just quickly glance over the next couple. I don't think there's too much thought that needs to be put into these two. Dawson Knox, if you have him on your roster, you're probably just starting him week in and week out at this point. He's playing Tampa Bay, and the only note I have written for this is, well, Tampa Bay just can't stop the tight end for some reason this year. I don't really know why. They got Devin White on that defense, who's an absolute maniac, so they should be able to stop the tight end, but they just don't. So Dawson Knox, I think, is a really good start here. I think Josh Allen and Dawson Knox will have that get-back game. I don't know if they'll necessarily beat Tampa Bay, but they're going to look a lot better than what they did last week on that snowy game and the 50-mile-per-hour wind. And then the next thing we had to brush over is New Orleans defense. This one's extremely straightforward. Start them. They're playing against the Jets this week. Just extremely turnover-heavy for the Jets, and I just think New Orleans is an easy start there. I don't think there's any going against the grain there. So that rounds out.
It was really a race to who could pick up New Orleans defense to start against the Jets.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're going to round out the starts there, and we're going to move on to the sits of the week. Joe Burrow. This is kind of an interesting one for some of you out there, but hear us out. 4 straight games under 17 fantasy points. I mean, that's bad. He started the year off really well, and he's had a really bad 4 games here recently. And last week, if you weren't watching the game, he hurt his pinky. It was sticking out straight sideways at one point, and that was on his throwing hand. So that's something to look out for. I don't know. I just can't see Joe Burrow. And he's playing against San Francisco, for that matter. San Francisco's defense is pretty solid. So everything is pointing away from starting Joe Burrow this week. Now, maybe you do start him, and he just goes out and gets 50 points this week. That's just that's fantasy in a nutshell for you. But I think looking at the matchup, looking at his recent performances, looking at the injury to his throwing hand, I think everything points towards putting him on the bench for a week and starting somebody else if you have the option.
Not only that, San Francisco, the last 4 weeks has been outstanding as quarterbacks. They put Russell Wilson in his place. They put Kirk Cousins in his place. It wasn't hard to put Trevor Lawrence in his place, but they did that. They put Matt Stafford in his place. Guys, this San Francisco defense is coming on, so like Stone said, it's a no-brainer. Go ahead. If you have another option, try to find it to sit Joe Burrow.
All right, and then moving on to the running back position, we got James Conner, who's playing against the Los Angeles Rams. Mason, do you have anything to say about him specifically?
Last time they met up, the Cardinals absolutely destroyed the Rams, and that made it possible for James Conner to go off. So if you're looking at previous numbers, James Conner had 19 points, 2 touchdowns against the Rams. And you might be like, well, why not start him again? Well, the Rams were not looking hot that game. They got down early and made a lot of mistakes, and they were not able to bounce back. They are going to be prepared this week. They are 9th against the run, guys, which is pretty decent. I do believe that the Rams hang in there, and that's going to make Kyler throw the ball a lot more. James Conner will probably not be able to sustain that 19-point fantasy production that he had earlier in the year against the Rams.
Also, I don't know how much of how much of a change this would be, but I believe Chase Edmonds came off of IR this week. I don't know if he'll be playing it all this week, but he did come off IR, so that's another thing to take into account for James Conner. Will he actually get all the touches? Because before, when Chase Edmonds was on the field, James Conner was completely touchdown-dependent running back, so we'll see how that goes. Moving on to the receiver position, we got Marquis, Hollywood Brown, and this could just be chalked up due to Lamar's struggles here recently. I mean, he's been a solid receiver all year. Even with the struggles that Lamar's had, he's been pretty much a 10-point receiver in PPR. He's not something to be scared of, but Cleveland's defense ranks 11th in the pass, so that's something to be kind of scared about, you know? I'm not too scared of Hollywood. I think he's going to be fine, but Mason can try to explain to you a little bit why he'd be a sit this week.
Yeah, guys, I'm typically always nervous going into a divisional game. Divisional games are always tough. It could be a very low-scoring game. It could be a super high-scoring game. But with Lamar's recent struggles and Myles Garrett coming across, their offensive line has not been able to hold up well. With Lamar Jackson's 37 sacks this year, I only see it going up against this Cleveland game. I mean, Myles Garrett could have 4 or 5 sacks. I have no clue. And if that's the case, Lamar's going to struggle all game. Majority of his points are going to come from rushing. And Mark Andrews, Marquis Brown in half-point PPR has scored 6 points at Miami Week 10. Didn't play against Chicago. Cleveland, he scored 9 points last time they played him. and 8 points against Pittsburgh. He's just getting on a slow kind of decline. So that is our reason for putting him on the sit list.
All right, yep. And then we're going to quickly glance through the tight end and defense position again here because, again, these ones seem pretty straightforward. We're saying to sit Kyle Pitts for the third straight week of doing this. We've been doing this start-sit episode for 3 weeks now, and we've said to sit Kyle Pitts every single one of them. He's had double-digit fantasy points, which was 10 fantasy points, once in the last 6 games. Like, the guy is not worthy of starting anymore. He was a bust of a draft pick. It's time for people to start admitting that. In fantasy, maybe not in real life. He might, pick it up later. But this year in fantasy, he was just going way too early. And I was a big person of saying don't draft him in fantasy because I had a feeling this was going to be the case. He has been bad. Just put him on the bench until he proves that he can be started. He's had 2 noteworthy fantasy games this year. And that is the only reason why he is averaging around 8 fantasy points a game this year, because he had 2 blow-up games. That is the only reason, and it hurts to say that because he is extremely talented. The next person, or defense that is, it's Buffalo. I think it's pretty safe to say that you can probably put them on the bench against Tom Brady in Tampa Bay this week. I don't think there's any arguing against that at all for Mason over there.
Slightly. Against the QBs, Buffalo has been first this year. They allow 11 points per game to the QB. Against running backs, they're 8th. They allow 19 points to the position. Against wide receivers, they allow 17.8 points per game to the position. That is also first in the NFL. And their defense allows 6.5 points per game to the tight end position. That means their defense is quite honestly one of the best defenses in the league. So why are they on our sit list? Well, because Tom Brady's dangerous. We don't see Tom Brady going in there and laying an egg. He could, but I don't think when Tom Brady has his low-scoring games, it's because Leonard Fournette destroys everything out of the backfield. It's because they can control the game with the clock. Well, Buffalo's run defense is pretty good. They might slow that down. So Tom Brady is probably going to be forced to throw the crap out of the ball. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, remember, too, Buffalo lost their number 1 cornerback in Tre'Davious White as well for the season. So that's just going to open things up even more for Tom Brady. So I think it's easy to kind of just, if you have Buffalo's defense, play a flyer this week. Don't play Buffalo. Just save them because they'll be fine down the stretch. It's just you're playing Tampa Bay. You got to stay away from Tampa Bay at all costs. So I think it's an easy sit this week for fantasy owners to make. And there's plenty of defenses that were on the waivers this week, like that are playing great matchups. Like New Orleans was dropped in most leagues. Like the Chargers are playing a good matchup. So there's a lot of matchups that you can go with this week that might favor you. So, and Tennessee's playing Jacksonville. It's another one that you could go pick up off the waivers, I bet. So that is all we got for the Fantasy View episode of Starts and Sits today. I'm Stone, that's Mason. If you guys enjoyed the video, like it down below, comment down below who your starts and sits of the week are, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps us out a lot, and we post these videos to help you guys out each and every single week. Ask us any questions that you'd want. We'd be more than happy to answer here on the show and in the comments. So thank you very much if you guys enjoyed the video and liked it today. I'm going to send things over to Mason, and he's going to kick us out of here.
Fantasy View out, baby. Let's go.